All right, and with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today during this webinar, Resources for Farmers in Crisis. I'm Josie Rudolphi. I'm a assistant professor and extension specialist in the Department of Agricultural and Biological Engineering in the College of ACES here at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I'm so excited for our presentation today. Really appreciate my co-presenters. We have Haley Jones, the Illinois AgrAbility Coordinator, and Terry Johnston from Farm Rescue. Both of those will be talking about the resources and services available to farmers through their respective organizations. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Our objective today is to really describe the resources and services that are available for farmers and farm workers in crisis. And if you joined the webinar a couple minutes early, you might have heard the three of us chatting about the fall we've had, acknowledging that there's been a number of field fires. We, of course, acknowledge what people in Florida and North Carolina are going through with our sort of back-to-back hurricanes, the devastation that they're experiencing, and this unfortunate loss of livestock and land crops for a lot of people. So we acknowledge that crises come in a lot of different forms. As I just mentioned, there are natural disasters that maybe take out entire communities. There's a lot of people who experience similar conditions that way. Again, contributing to loss of assets, loss of livestock, crop. They can be financially draining, certainly emotionally draining. There are also crises that are perhaps more localized, and so that might be in the same vein as a natural disaster, perhaps a tornado or something that's a little bit more specific to a region, perhaps even specific to a farm. And then we know that life doesn't take a break when we have a lot of work to do. So we're in the midst of harvest. That doesn't mean that conditions and experiences don't arise. And so when we think about crises, it might be somebody experiences a traumatic injury that takes them away from the farm for a while, perhaps a diagnosis, an illness diagnosis that pulls them away from the farm so that they can focus on seeking health care or treatments. So those are the types of crises that we realize it's really, really hard to plan for when you're a farmer. And we know that a lot of people in agriculture don't have the luxury of perhaps paid time off. They don't have the luxury of sick days. And there's not always somebody to help restructure their work. That's something that AgrAbility is going to talk to us about. And we also know that there's not somebody to do the work should they be absent from the farm. Should the owner-operator, the farmer, the farm worker be pulled from the farm, we know that there's not always somebody available to step in and see that crops get harvested, that hay gets made, that livestock gets filled. So we're excited to talk about the resources available through Farm Rescue and AgrAbility. And I'm going to start by talking specifically about resources that are available for farmers and farm workers who are experiencing a mental health crisis or in distress. We certainly acknowledge that farmers experience a tremendous amount of stress. We've talked about a few of those already today. We've talked about a couple natural disasters. We've talked about the kind of inconsistent growing season we've experienced here in the Midwest, a relatively promising spring, nice rains for a while, followed by what we're seeing as to be very dry conditions in the latter half of the growing season. We know that farmers experience fluctuating commodity prices, time pressures, trying to get as much done in as little time as possible. We know that there's interpersonal dynamics that contribute to stress on the farm. And then we certainly know that, as I sort of mentioned in the previous slide, that injury and illness are, of course, physically draining, exhausting, but they also take a mental toll on our farmers. We also certainly acknowledge that farm labor and farm workers also experience stress in their work environment. Many of these individuals work for relatively low wage. They may have limited transportation, so the inability to move about the community with ease. That may present challenges in accessing food, accessing recreation, even limit social interaction. We know that many live in substandard housing, densely housed communities. They may experience barriers to accessing healthcare. And like I mentioned, some travel in to work for a season or two. They may be separated from their family. They may be living in isolation without their social community. And all of these things contribute to stress for our farm labor and farm workers. So I direct the North Central Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Center, which is a 12-state, 19-partner collaborative at the University of Illinois. And we sort of operate in 5 big areas listed here on the screen. I'm going to talk specifically today about 3 of these, the states that are offering professional behavioral health services. I'm going to talk about telephone helplines. And then I am just going to make mention here of our clearinghouse website at farmstress.org. So there are over 170 farm and ranch specific stress and mental health resources available at farmstress.org. You can also find a list of state-specific telephone helplines and hotlines, should they exist, as well as other state-specific information. I will say for those 12 states that are presented on the slide. I'm going to start by talking about some hotlines and helplines that are available. First, we know that the term hotline and helpline are often used interchangeably in conversations, and there is a lot of overlap between the two, but they're not entirely the same in some cases. And so I think it's important to differentiate the two so that you may be able to find what you need with ease. The first thing that might distinguish a hotline from a helpline is the urgency of the situation at hand. And so a hotline is usually available to provide immediate assistance or answers to a very acute situation. So a good example of a hotline is a suicide and crisis lifeline. And that number is 988. That is for, it's not limited to somebody who is having thoughts of suicide, but it's certainly for somebody who's in crisis, who needs immediate assistance, and there is a sense of urgency to the situation. If that's if that is the condition, we really encourage you to reach out on behalf of yourself or someone else to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, again at 988. Just a note that you can call, text, or chat, and that that line is available in both English and Spanish. I think it's a huge relief that it's now a 3-digit number. That used to be a 9-digit, 10-digit number. It was obviously hard to recall, and this is much easier, hopefully, for everybody to recall. A hotline is usually available to provide, again, immediate assistance or information if needed. But a helpline is more available to provide information and pathways to resources. So this is, now that's not to say that a helpline can't respond to an immediate or urgent situation. However, helplines are more useful in helping to connect you to additional resources. So I'm going to talk briefly about one of my favorite helplines, and one that I think everybody should have in their phone, and that is the Concern line. This was previously the Iowa Concern Helpline, and now it's the Concern line because it services states beyond Iowa. But this line was established in the midst of the farm crisis by Iowa State University Extension. And this is a line where farmers, and really anybody, but certainly farmers, can call and talk about a legal situation they may have, a financial situation they may have. They can talk about stress or some more acute situation and then also call if they need crisis or disaster resources. And so the concern line will help navigate you towards legal resources and services should you need them, help guide you to some financial resources should you need them, and help connect you to disaster resources that may be available in your area. Again, the concern line is also available in English and Spanish, and there are call, text, and email options. Finally, I want to mention the Farm Aid Farmer Hotline and the number listed there. Like some of the other lines, they have call, text, and email options, also available in English and Spanish. But you will note that I should have noted that the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline and the Iowa Concern Line or the Concern Line are 24/7, 365-day a week, year a week lines. To note, the Farm Aid Farmer Hotline has more limited hours. However, the Farm Aid Farmer Hotline is very much a service line, whereas you might call with a question, you need help finding a resource, and you would be assigned a case contact, and that person will work through your situation with you. Now, that's not to say that it'll be resolved immediately, but you may have routine communication with somebody at Farm Aid as they seek or find resources for you. They'll share those with you by phone or by email, depending on your preferences. So you develop a bit more of a working relationship with somebody there as a bit of a case manager. I will say that the team, the hotline team there, should you email or text, tries to respond to each request within 28 to 48 hours. The other resource I want to make people aware of is in some states in the North Central Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Center, there are professional behavioral health services available at low or no cost to farmers, farm workers, farm family members. These typically provide somewhere between 3 to 5 sessions for the farmer, rancher, family member to participate in. And I'm going to talk specifically about the program we have in Illinois. So this is the Illinois Ag Mental Health Voucher Program, and there is a link there to request a voucher. And we provide 3 vouchers for professional behavioral health services with one of our partnering providers. So that is a caveat in that you have to redeem your voucher with a partnering provider that's in our directory. So we currently have over 100 providers in 40 counties. Almost all of them offer services in person, online, or over the phone. So even if there's not a provider in your county, you can certainly access a provider in another county. And we do have services available in English and Spanish. I want to talk through how the voucher program works. Farmers or ranchers make requests online, and UIUC sends the voucher, or the set of vouchers, I should say, to the email address of the requestee, along with our provider directory. So again, the list of 106 providers that people have to choose from to redeem their vouchers with. You then redeem your vouchers. You can redeem them all with the same provider. Maybe you redeem one and you maybe didn't feel like you connected with that provider. You're certainly encouraged to shop around and find somebody that's a better fit. And then we at the University of Illinois and Illinois Extension reimburse the provider. So there's no exchange of financial information, insurance information. There's no exchange of currency between the farmer or the person redeeming the voucher and the provider. This is really to hopefully reduce any barriers associated with financial costs that a farmer may experience in pursuing or participating in professional behavioral health services. So that's a little bit about the program we have in Illinois. As a reminder, there are a couple other programs in other states, and information about those programs can be found at farmstress.org. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Haley Jones. Haley is our Illinois AgrAbility Coordinator, and she's going to talk a little bit about Illinois AgrAbility.
All right. Thank you, Josie, for that introduction. And as she shared, I will be talking to everyone about AgrAbility and specifically the Illinois AgrAbility program. However, I will be sharing how AgrAbility serves other states across the nation for those that are located elsewhere. So the mission of AgrAbility is to enhance the quality of life for farmers, ranchers, and other ag workers with disabilities so that they, their families, and their communities can continue to succeed in rural America. So what this program is this is a program for farmers, veterans who farm, and farm workers who have experienced an injury or disability. We know that for many, the presence of an injury or a disability or chronic condition of some kind can jeopardize their rural and agricultural livelihood. But we also know that with some assistance from outside programs and organizations, these people with this injury, with these disabilities, can safely and effectively continue to earn their livelihood in production ag and participate fully in their rural community life. And so AgrAbility is just one of those many organizations, those many programs and resources that is available to help these farmers out when the time comes. So this program offers education and assistance to eliminate barriers, accommodate limitations, and help you continue farming in the event that you end up with, a chronic condition or an injury or setback of some sort. The program often involves extension educators, disability experts, rural professionals, and volunteers who work in partnership to offer a variety of services at no cost to the clients. So AgrAbility is available around the nation in 21 states and US territories, and those are marked by the yellow states there that you can see on your screen. And you can see the darker shade of gray, those are an affiliate project. So even though a state might not have an AgrAbility specific program, they will often have an affiliate project that will serve those similar needs that the AgrAbility program offers as well. So you can see there on the map where you're located and if your state has an AgrAbility program or a similar project or program in their states. So each program does have the same mission and offers similar resources and opportunities throughout that program for those in their states. And then this program is often housed with a university or an extension like program in the state. So talking about Illinois AgrAbility specifically, in this state, we're a big agriculture state. We have over 72,000 farms. They harvest 27 million acres, and they're operated by 118,000 producers. We also have, 56,000 hired workers, 59,000 unpaid workers, and an additional 33,000 migrant and seasonal farm workers. We also know that the average age of the farmer is 58 years old. And because of all of these, Illinois is a prime location to offer the AgrAbility program, as much like many of the other states around the US as well. So we know that on the farm, injuries happen, accidents happen. We know that, diagnosis with different health conditions happens. So when that happens, we know that we have AgrAbility available to look to. So qualification for this program to be involved in AgrAbility and receive the resources from the AgrAbility program is it's really geared towards those involved in agriculture. So those that we mentioned earlier, farmers, veterans who farm, and those migrants or seasonal farm workers. And then, you'll have a disability or an injury or a chronic condition. So for the purpose of the AgrAbility program, we're pretty vague when it comes to whatever that physical barrier might be that you are experiencing. So you can see some examples there on the screen, everything from arthritis to hearing loss or, respiratory impairments or, amputation, whatever it is that's preventing you from continuing to farm safely and comfortably like you were, that is a qualification. We consider that to be a disability or a barrier that prevents you from doing the work and continuing on with your livelihood. So if you or someone you know who works in agriculture has a disability or an injury and can use some help, let's find out what AgrAbility does for them. So we offer a variety of services. And like I mentioned earlier, while I am talking about Illinois AgrAbility, many of these services are offered in each of the states with an AgrAbility or similar program. So we identify farmers, veterans, farm workers, anybody with a disability in the agricultural industry, and we reach out to them or they reach out to us. We conduct those free on-site farm assessments, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. We recommend safe equipment or devices that can be used. We provide educational opportunities and informational resources to the farmers and their families that will help them in the future. We refer clients to other service providers for potential assistance as needed. And that's just saying that, if an individual reaches out and maybe AgrAbility isn't the right program for them, we can sure refer them to, a different program or resource, as needed, such as, counseling, an educational webinar, financial, rehabilitation, whatever the case might be, we can sure refer them and steer them in the right direction. So a little bit more about the on-site farm assessment and what that looks like is tends to be a popular request from farmers when they're in this situation where they have a barrier in front of them and they need a second set of eyes. They need some assistance on their farm, some expertise. We will come out to their farm and assess their current and potential barriers that they are experiencing. So that's dependent on the case. If they're having trouble getting in and out of their tractor due to a knee replacement surgery, we'll be focusing on the machinery, on the tractor, on the combine. Maybe they've had, an arm amputated and now they're struggling to open gates or carry feed buckets or shovel. We'll focus on those areas when we go to the farm and focus on whatever it is that the farmer, is needing. We will also evaluate a piece of equipment to determine best use of perhaps a lift or other form of assistive technology. And we will recommend adjustments to buildings, equipment, farm routine, etc. Whatever it is your daily routine is on the farm, we want to help provide resources and expertise so that you can continue farming safely and comfortably. And yes, we'll get a sense of that daily farm work and routine, what life is like with your injury or with your illness, with that barrier. So something to keep in mind is we are available year round. So in the winter, in the summer, no matter what, here in Illinois, we are available year round for these farm site visits. And the great thing about these farm site visits and these farm assessments is that they are free. We travel to the farm and we will do all that. We'll meet with you for, anywhere from 1 to 2 hours or so. And that is all free. That's a service we are able to provide. So assistive technology was mentioned earlier, and I want to go into a little bit of detail about what that is. So assistive technology is basically a practice or device, a tool, a modification, or a process that is used to enable a person to perform a desired task. So it's basically, utilizing a resource in order to help you do something better or more efficiently, whatever the case might be. So when we're talking about AgrAbility, then we're talking about assistive technology enabling a farmer with a disability to complete desired tasks within that agricultural setting. So one great tool that we use a lot in our program, and I know that the other states use in their programs as well, is the National AgrAbility Toolbox, which is an online database that anyone can go to. It's a public website, and here you can see an example of what that web page looks like. But there are, over 1,000 tools and devices that people can search. They can search by category or, individual need, and they can see a listing of all the different tools and devices that are available. And the purpose of this is for those who are looking for a solution. They're looking for a fix. And, they would look at these tools and they would see how they're used and they would see if that's something that might benefit them. Then the toolbox lists, where can they purchase this and what's the price of something like this, or how can they build it themselves? Because we know that farmers are really handy. Sometimes they can modify something they already have. That's what this toolbox is. So when we go on our farm site visits, we talk a lot about assistive technology, and we also talk a lot about this toolbox and how it's a great resource just to have year round, whether you're a part of AgrAbility or not. So I would encourage everyone to take advantage of this and check it out. Some examples of assistive technology that, we might recommend or we might chat about is obviously that high level technology, which would be your tractor lifts, your combine lifts. But we also suggest things as simple as a handle grip for a shovel. Maybe you have arthritis, maybe you have some wrist pain that you're trying to get rid of. And so simply changing the way you hold a shovel or a rake can really make your daily life, better when you're gardening or when you're scooping feed or pushing up feed, all of that sort. So a wide range of assistive technology and uses. It really just depends on the case. So if you are interested in receiving AgrAbility services, or someone that could benefit and you want to reach out, for Illinois AgrAbility, you can go to our website, and the easiest way to do that is just to Google Illinois AgrAbility. But on there you can call us, you can email us, or you can fill out a brief form that is right there on the webpage. And then it'll ask you a few basic questions about what you're dealing with. And then from there, our team will be in touch with you. So we can answer any questions that you might have. We'll determine if the AgrAbility program is the right program for you. And then we'll assist you every step of the way. And then keep in mind that all information is kept confidential when working on these cases. And then a reminder that the program is available year round. So besides doing those farm site visits and reaching out to chat about the farm and some barriers, AgrAbility programs also offer educational opportunities throughout the year. These are often in the form of classes, events, webinars, handouts, resources, whatever the topic might be that we feel we need to provide more information on. It could be injury prevention. It could be assistive technology and how to use it, or chronic pain self-management. Whatever the case is, we provide often free educational opportunities that are available to not only farmers and farm workers and veterans who farm, but to their families or to other agricultural professionals, extension staff, whoever might benefit from learning more about agricultural topics. And the whole goal of AgrAbility across the nation is to be proactive so that we don't get those clients who need assistance after an injury on the farm. We want to talk about safety and health so that, maybe before we get to that point, we're taking care of ourselves and we're doing farm routines and we're, in a safer manner so that we don't have to get to that point, but we are here when that need arises. And so many educational opportunities can be found on our website, as well as any of the other states' websites if you are interested in learning more about those. So a great way to connect with AgrAbility and keep up and learn more is to scan one of the 2 QR codes. So if you want to learn more about Illinois AgrAbility specifically, go ahead and scan with your phone the blue QR code. And if you are located in another state, or you don't know if your state offers AgrAbility, or you want to find out, a great place to start is to scan the orange QR code. That will take you to the National AgrAbility website. And from there, you can find that map and click on it directly to find your contact information for your state's program if they have it. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Haley. And for those of you that have questions specific for Haley, we encourage you to put those in the chat. And as a reminder, her email address is on here, as well as her phone number, and she's always available to respond to questions about AgrAbility. So now I'm really excited to turn things over to Terry Johnston. Terry Johnston's with Farm Rescue. He's going to talk about Farm Rescue, some of the work they're doing in a couple of states, and how to get in contact with somebody there should you need it. Terry?
Yeah, thanks so much, Josie. Terry Johnston here with Farm Rescue. I'm the development officer for what we call the Corn Belt states. So that's Iowa, Illinois, Kansas, Nebraska, and we added Wisconsin this year. And then we also help in North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Montana. So those are the areas that we serve farms and ranches in. So Farm Rescue is a nonprofit. We're set up to help farmers in some of these situations that we've been talking about today. So that can be an injury, an illness, a natural disaster, things like floods, droughts, blizzards, tornadoes, all those kinds of things that disrupt putting the crop in, taking the crop out, livestock feeding, those kinds of things. That is where we can come in and help folks. We've been doing this since 2005, and this summer we've surpassed 1,100 farm families that we've helped since our inception. So we're very proud of that. We want to continue to serve. Obviously, it's a major strain when someone's going through an illness or an injury or a natural disaster, whether that's physically, mentally, financially. So we want to come in and help folks through that. So what we do is we come in with equipment and volunteers to help physically get the work done. So we can help with planting, we can help with harvest, we can help with making hay, we can help with feeding livestock, whatever it is. So the family can focus on recovery, whatever that means. Maybe, again, it's an illness or an injury or some cancer treatments, or one of the children is sick and needs some attention. It doesn't necessarily have to be the farmer principal. It can be, anyone in the immediate family that's needing some help. So we want to get folks through this time. Our premise, our foundation was really started on neighbor helping neighbor, with the idea of keeping family farm going, the ranch, so that it can go to the next generation. Our founder, this is a little bit about him. This is Bill Gross. He grew up on a farm ranch up in North Dakota, and in the 80s, and of course that was a tough time, and so it wasn't possible for him to go back to the farm. So he went on to get a degree and his pilot's license, and he now crisscrosses the globe on a daily basis, flying a 747 for UPS. So that's his day job, but he serves as our founder and president. He's involved daily with our activities, keeps very close in touch with technology, and just has a real passion for serving families going through a tough time. And we're very thankful for him. He takes no pay for this. He serves as a volunteer, and we're happy to have him on board. We also have a board of directors that again serve for no pay. So these are professional folks and mostly in agriculture that kind of work on governance and give us direction. They also look over applications when they come in for folks looking for assistance. And we couldn't do it without them, and we're very grateful for these folks. And they, again, as a volunteer, they they do this at no cost. We obviously want to focus the money that we receive, goes to the families that need the help. We have a small staff in serving 9 states. I think we have about 9 employees, 7 of us full-time, 2 part-time. And so we have folks that are in the development area. Nate Clark is our new executive director. He came to us this summer. He had retired from John Deere. He was in charge of the John Deere Foundation there, and that's how he got to be familiar with farm rescue. And he was interested in serving in a capacity on our staff, and so he has joined us, and that's been awesome. And so we have a great group of really dedicated folks that get out of bed every day wanting to help farm families and help them through a tough time. So we're grateful for the awesome team that we have. I mentioned volunteers a little bit, so they are the crux of farm rescue. They are farm rescue. They do the work. They show up when needed. I would say currently in our database we have around 600 volunteers from 49 states that answer the call when we need help. Some serve a few days, some serve a few weeks, from all kinds of backgrounds, from people that are currently working and taking off time from their current job or their farming operation or whatever they're doing, to help us, and they do it with a happy heart. When we're helping these families, our volunteers are not coming into a happy situation, right? We're dealing with folks that are really hurting, probably in some of the darkest days of their life, and these folks come in, just provide a helping hand and a shoulder to lean on or cry on or a hug or whatever it takes. So they are just some of the most compassionate, giving, selfless people you'll ever want to meet. And I hope you get to meet them someday, not because they're helping you, but run across us at a trade show or something like that, because they are just amazing people that serve selflessly and willingly and do a great job, taking care of the families that we serve. So as I mentioned, we've served over 1,100 families since our inception back in 2005. And that takes a lot of volunteers. It's probably 200 to 300 a year that we use. We probably serve somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 families, and that varies depending on situations and natural disasters. For example, this early spring we had some very serious wildfires out in Nebraska that went, and then also down in Texas and Oklahoma. And I think there were somewhere around 45 families that we hauled hay to there for a couple of months to make sure they got their animals fed until to their own hay crop or pasture came back. And so it can really vary. We're currently doing that right now. We're just starting one up this week for the most recent wildfires up in North Dakota. There were tens of thousands of acres burned there, and so we're in the process of getting hay lined up and getting our trucks and our volunteers lined up and ready to haul some feed over into those folks there in North Dakota. So, like I said, it varies from family. We do have a family here. I'm not going to play the video, but this is Gary and Barb Karstens from Charles City, Iowa. If you get a chance to go to our YouTube channel and watch some of the testimonials of the families that we've helped over the past 19 years, it's very powerful. It's very moving. They're so glad we came. Sometimes they, as you know, farm families are proud. They don't like to ask for help. They don't like to receive help. They're always glad when they did, and many of them will say that in the talking to folks afterwards is, man, I'm so glad I reached out to Farm Rescue and had them help. We just simply couldn't get through this. I had a recent cancer survivor tell me, he said, "You guys saved my farm." He said, "I would not have made it through this if your volunteers hadn't showed up and helped." So that's why we do this. For those listening, if this is ever you, please call us and see if we can help. If you deal with farm families, ranch families on a regular basis, keep your ear to the ground. I would say probably 75% of the folks who come to us come through referral rather than, again, asking for help. So we really rely heavily on the folks in the community that see these families in day in and day out, whether it's their lender or their seed salesperson or the the church or the grocery store clerk, whoever. We really rely on those folks to give us a heads up when somebody needs help. We'll reach out. Maybe they're older and that they would have trouble filling out an application, for example, or something like that, especially since it's online. So we're always happy to reach out, and if they want to say no, they can, or maybe, or just learn more about farm rescue and how we can help them. So I would encourage all those folks that are listening to be a willing participant and help us identify those families that need help. We can get them through a tough time and get them off the other side and hopefully keep that farm legacy alive. A little bit about our sponsors. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So we are fully funded by donations, and that can mean a lot of different things. We of course do have corporate sponsors. We'll talk about them more in a little bit. We have a lot of individual sponsors, organizations that step up. We have folks that give us money, and then folks that give us help. Like the University of Illinois, for example, have been a wonderful partner in helping us spread the word about farm rescue, increasing awareness, partnering them with us. Maybe when there's a permanent injury that needs help, we can reach out to AgrAbility and refer this family to them, or sometimes it's vice versa. So we really appreciate our sponsors, supporters, partners in that way. But we try to invest our money wisely. I think there's an example of our giving chart here that just basically explains our partnership levels and then how we like to recognize those partners. We like to give back as much to our partners as possible. So we try to recognize them as much as we can, as often as we can. You'll see when we look at some of our vehicles here later that we plaster their logos all over them, because we want to let people know who is supporting our volunteers and our equipment in the field that is helping these farm and ranch families. We try to be very fiscally responsible with that. We do publish a report every year. You can go to our website and look at the most recent one from last year. But we really try to spend our money wisely. It's given to us from our sponsors in good faith that we're going to use that money to help families. And so we're thankful for our board and our president, who are willing to do all that work at no cost or no pay to them. Our offices are donated by a wonderful manufacturing company up in North Dakota, so we don't have to pay rent on our offices. We have so much help from so many people to make sure that the money that is given to us can be spent on helping farm families or spreading the word. This is just an example of some of our many sponsors. Of course, John Deere's been a wonderful partner, starting with the dealerships from the very beginning. Unfortunately, we don't get our equipment for free. We have to lease, rent, or own all of it. But Anheuser-Busch, Busch Light has been a wonderful partner. The Eaglestead families, and then many others. If you're up in North Dakota, South Dakota, those parts of the world, I'm sure you'll see some of our billboards that are donated to us by some wonderful advertising companies up there. And we have businesses from all over the United States that donate money, time, marketing materials, support, free radio advertising. I mean, you name it. We're just very blessed. We can always use more. So if you're listening and are able to help Farm Rescue financially, or know somebody that could or might be interested, certainly they can reach out to us. Unfortunately, the past 2 years, our demand has exceeded our annual giving, and so we're we've lost a little traction the last couple of years just because of the increased need. And we want to make sure that we're able to provide for these folks. And just again, here's a picture of one of our combines. You can see that we have Farm Rescue on the side there, and we try to be as visible as possible just to spread the word. We don't have a big marketing department or marketing budget, so most of our advertising comes from help from others. And of course, on the sides of our vehicles there, you can see many of our sponsors on the side of the truck. We have probably 12 or so semis. We have grain trailers, hay trailers, equipment moving trailers. Obviously, we have to be transportable. Here's one of our tractors from up north that pulls one of our 3 air seeders that we serve farm families for up in like the plains, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Minnesota. And so just some more examples of our equipment. So a little bit of, as you're listening to this presentation, how you might be able to help Farm Rescue. And trust me, you're able to help us. So helping us spread the word is number one. What we have found is if people know about Farm Rescue, the number of people that we help increases, so the number of cases. And then, of course, that comes also with awareness and volunteers step up, as well as organizations and corporations and individuals that can afford to financially support Farm Rescue. So community engagement is huge to us. So any way you can help spread the word, whether that's through social media, if you want us to send some brochures your way, maybe you have an event or something that one of our staff or volunteers could attend and talk about Farm Rescue to folks. We do as much of that as we can. Of course, with limited budgets, travel is sometimes a challenge, but usually we have a volunteer probably somewhere in the area that can show up and talk about Farm Rescue or represent. So that is something that you can help us do. We have a tremendous social media presence, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Please follow us on any of those. Share our information. You'll see that today there's a press release went out about the Operation Hay Lift that we've got started up in North Dakota. So if you could help spread those kinds of things around, or maybe donate some hay, or maybe you know somebody that could support us financially with the fuel cost and so forth. Of course, volunteering. There's a place on our website that you can go there and fill out a simple application. Let us know what you like to do, what you're able to do, when you're able to do it, maybe how many days a year you're able to help. Or if you know somebody that might be interested in signing up as a volunteer, that's always very much appreciated. Of course, fundraising is one of those things. If you can help us do that, we like to do fun activities. So if there's an activity going on, or you have an opportunity, maybe we could get together and do a fundraiser, whether it's a concert or maybe some type of a silent auction, live auction. It doesn't really matter. We always enjoy those kinds of things, and our volunteers and families usually like to help, that we've helped, like to help pitch in, to those kinds of activities as well. And all this can be done on our website. So you can, if you go to farmrescue.org, there's tons of news, pictures, videos, articles that have been written about Farm Rescue, or maybe a TV program has covered us. You can go there to apply for assistance. So if there's something that you need, there's a simple application. Again, referring somebody to Farm Rescue, that's one of those things that's a huge help in serving more families, is people letting us know if there's somebody in their community that's hurting. You can sign up as a volunteer there. And of course, you can make a donation. If that's something that you're able to do, want to do, you can do something that's a one-time, or we have the ability to do ongoing, just making a monthly donation. And of course, we have some big fundraisers throughout the year, so you can follow that. We have Given Hearts Day in February, which is always a big opportunity for Farm Rescue to raise funds. So all those types of things are available. And this is Ben and myself. We both live in Iowa. We work in the Corn Belt states. Certainly, if you live in one of the other states that we serve up in the northern plains, whether it's Montana, Minnesota, North South Dakota, we have folks that we'll refer you to there. But this is Ben and I's contact information. Maybe take a snap photo of this. It'll probably be available later. But make sure you have our cell phone numbers, and our email addresses are easy to remember. It's just terry@farmrescue.org or ben@farmrescue.org, and we're happy to help. And if you're unsure whether or not we can help you, or whoever you want or are wanting to refer us to, please ask anyway. We serve a lot of different farm and ranch type families in multiple states. And so we want to help if we can. There's sometimes we have to say no, it's just out of our scope. But never hesitate or fail to reach out because you're unsure if we can help with the task. And as the other folks have mentioned, we have tons of organizations that we have documented and we can refer people to if in fact we are not able to help. Whatever the situation is, we have a massive list of partners that we would happily refer families to if it's something that we can't help with ourselves. We want to make sure that the needs are served, even if we can't offer those up. So with that, I'll turn it back over, and feel free to submit any questions or get a hold of me anytime.
Great. Thank you so much, Terry. I know I've been aware of Farm Rescue for probably 10 years now, just kind of living around the Midwest, but it's been so fantastic to have Farm Rescue in Illinois officially in the last couple of years. And it's just amazing what y'all are doing to help support farmers who are, I think like you said, it just probably experiencing one of their worst days, and just knowing that there is an organization like Farm Rescue who can come in and just do some of the heavy lifting so that people can focus on their health or their family, or whatever it might be. So thank you so much for that information. And if you are not familiar with Farm Rescue, do reach out to learn more. It's just a fantastic organization. So with that, we certainly want to thank our Farm Doc sponsors, TIAA, CoBank, Compeer Financial, Corteva, Farm Credit of Illinois, Growmark, Illinois Corn, and Illinois Soybean Association. We also want to thank our educational partners, the College of Agriculture, Consumer, and Environmental Sciences at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, the Department of Agricultural and Consumer Economics, and of course, Illinois Extension, in addition to the Gardner Agriculture Policy Program and FBFM. As a reminder, we encourage you to visit FarmDoc daily for this archive webinar, in addition to many others. Consider checking out the YouTube channel for the archive webinars and 5-minute Farm Doc. And should you have or want more information about the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign's Agricultural Safety and Health Program, our website is listed there. So we hope you check all of those out. At this time, we have a few minutes should there be any questions. I don't see any in the chat now, but feel free to submit a question, and we will stay on the line here for a minute or so to respond. If you have to head out, we again appreciate you joining us today. We encourage you to, again, look into the programs that we're talking about today. Do visit the Illinois AgrAbility website. We have a quarterly webinar a quarterly newsletter, a quarterly newsletter where you can stay up to date on what's happening in Illinois and with Illinois AgrAbility, including those educational opportunities that Haley mentioned. So it's an opportunity to learn about courses and programs that we are hosting, should you be interested in participating in those. As a final reminder, Please complete the evaluation after the webinar. We use that to help improve the experience for everybody and inform future webinars as well as potential extension programs. Thank you all and have a really great day.